Okay, Laura, do you want to start the reading?
Absolutely, no problem. This open meeting of the Mendon Select Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's updated guidance on holding meetings pursuant to the act extending certain COVID-19 measures that was signed into law on June 16th, 2021. This act includes an extension until April 1st, 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12th, 2020 executive order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. For this meeting, the Mendon Select Board is convening by video telephone conference as posted on the town's webpage, identifying how the public may join. This meeting will feature public comment. You're all set, Mark.
Okay, first on the agenda, we have citizen statements and petitions. Do we have any? Okay. And then we have discussed FY22 budget with the Finance Committee. I'm going to ask him to begin the conversation on that.
Sure. I only see Nick. Is anybody else from the Finance Committee here?
Yes, I think Jack Hodgins joining.
Oh, okay, Jack, I didn't see you on there. Okay, well, that's good. So just briefly, I sent out a summary email about a half an hour ago, and then I also sent out the motion for STM. As you may or may not have heard, there was a calculation error, thank God, in the spreadsheet, and so we actually had a surplus. We have about $370,000, and so we can now we can avoid having to do all those awful cuts that we were having to consider. So the board is putting forward. There's one motion on there that we can bring. We just raise and appropriate at the meeting next Monday to give, if the town so chooses, the $321,000 that they were requesting.
Can you say more about the miscalculation?
Sure. So the way the spreadsheet is designed, one of the links from the main revenue page, so even though the numbers were entered correctly, it didn't carry over to sort of there's a summary page in between. So the numbers balanced on every page, but it didn't capture that extra 300. And I certainly noticed that it was down, but I just assumed it was revenue lost from COVID. I mean, I looked at it a couple of times. And so luckily, we were able to verify it. Staff found it, and then we verified it with our financial team last week. And so it exists. And all we have to do now is basically recognize that it was a calculation error. And just like Eric can say more specifically, we can allocate it at the meeting.
Eric, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. The microphone's working. Great. So, all right.
Eric is the town accountant, in case everyone doesn't know Eric.
Okay. So basically, Kim wanted us to look into it, and so basically we looked in the spreadsheet, and the first thing that we do is we go into the DOR recap, and it has beginning balance, add the 2.5, add the new growth, and the tab was correct. The revenue tab was correct the way it calculated it, but when it came onto the main sheet, it wasn't linked properly. So the cover sheet had the wrong beginning balance, and the difference was like $370,000. So when we looked at it, it was a spreadsheet wasn't linked properly, and so you had more money to work with at the annual town meeting than what was showing up on the finance committee book. So that's basically what happened.
All right, excellent.
Okay. Any questions from the select board first?
I have
Okay.
nothing.
Any questions from finance committee members? Any further questions?
Whose responsibility is it to make that spreadsheet accurate?
Okay, so it's a collective responsibility, but one thing that every time a mistake like this happens, I always change my own internal procedures. So I think in the future, with the FinCom book, what I will try to do in our department is to check it before town meeting. Typically, the way this would get caught, or the way it's been get caught, things like this get caught in the past is when we do the tax rate recap sheet, we put all the, it's usually before the special town meeting in the fall. So we put all the stuff in the tax rate recap sheet, and we do this probably like in October before the November town meeting. And at that time, we'd put all the numbers in and we'd say, why do we have an extra $300,000 in there? And then at that time, we could say, all right, you have this much to appropriate. But the difference is, we didn't, so we usually check it after the town meeting and before we set the tax rate. But I think in the future, we can check it, right, you know.
And actually, we should be avoiding this actually entirely in the future, because you may or may not have heard me mention 1 or a dozen times in the last 6 years that we are working off of an Excel spreadsheet, basically, that's been handed down over the years. And so we just, in this budget, we're funding to get a brand new financial system. That's that presentation that the board did about a month ago. So we actually, this will actually can't happen again through something like this. I mean, we're basically running a $20 million budget on a, Excel, which is totally unacceptable.
So to answer your question, like more specifically, usually the assessor provides the revenue estimates, which is fine. And she did provide the revenue estimates accurately. It was put into a tab on the Excel worksheet, but it just didn't get pulled forward properly into the summary sheet. So, I mean, that's something we can, double check in the future.
If I'm not mistaken, though, we're not going to be using that anymore because we purchased a new software package. So
that's right.
Even the appearance in the FinCom book is going to change, because instead of it being that Excel spreadsheet, it's going to be a document created from the new software package. And the reason we didn't do it before was because we couldn't do it with KVS, and we had to move it over to work with this. And now this is going to combine both of those opportunities, or eliminate having to move it from one document or one software package to another. It'll all be in one place, and it's going to eliminate that error. And I would also point out that there was no opportunity for any money to be lost. All that would have happened was, if we didn't catch it now, it would have been caught when we certified free cash in a few months. And we
Thank God it was caught. Right. Thank God. Just so incredibly relieved. Right.
And this goes to show you too, the more eyes and ears that are on the accounting records or all the records collectively, it's the better for the town. So it's good. The more eyes and ears on the finances, the better off we all are. And I thought it's good that everybody's like engaged in Mendon. So I think that's a good thing. And thank you to the Board of Selectmen for approving that new software, because that will be a big improvement. Whenever you have to go from a clunky thing and convert it to a format that you want, there's always more room for error. This way we'd be able to, the stuff will be, the source document will be the accounting records. It won't have to be done on an offline spreadsheet.
Eric, we should have done this years ago.
Yep.
To illustrate our point.
Can't look back, only look forward,
That's it. Okay, any other questions or comments from the Finance Committee? Okay.
Heather,
I think Heather's trying to speak.
I'm sorry. I appreciate you, having us on for this particular meeting. So just to clarify, there was an accounting error or a Excel spreadsheet broken link error, and now we have more money in revenue. Where is that money right now? In free cash? Do we have to say the source it's coming from for the special town meeting?
Okay, so the money, when you raise and appropriate funds, you're limited to the amount of money that you raise by Proposition 2.5. So now you have the capacity to raise more. So the motion at town meeting is simply raise and appropriate, because it's going to be coming from taxation. There's enough money within the tax levy to fund the article.
So it's within the levy limit is what you're saying. Got it. Okay.
Absolutely.
I gotcha.
Yep.
All right. Just wanted to clarify.
Right. And the motion that we've included it's been reviewed by Eric and council for the meeting. This is the process.
Okay. Looks like somebody
Okay.
has a hand up.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that after I
Okay, all right.
get through all of the board members. Any more FinCom comments? Okay.
Any other questions about the STM? We haven't met with them yet about it.
Yeah,
Just-
in general, because I think that
Right.
it's important to note that I want to focus this conversation, despite the error that we've found, the conversation really needs to be focused on what we're doing at STM. So from this
Mhm.
point forward, any comments or questions from the Finance Committee or the public, I want to be about what's going to happen at STM and the process forward. So
Okay.
does the Finance Committee want to, are there any questions on that part of it? Around the motion, around how we're proceeding? I think it's clear now what we're doing, right?
Right, so I mean, the FinCom is gonna continue to meet after this. We'll have to sign off and get on a different teams to take a motion and discuss and vote on that special town meeting warrant article,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
you're
correct.
right.
Okay,
Well, I
I
think-
know I'm the interim chair, but I'm in a little bit of unknown territory here.
No, so basically, there's a proposed article in motion, and you'll have to make a recommendation whether you support it or not as a committee.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And we'll do that after this.
I would just say, Heather, if you want to meet after, you certainly can, but if you have a quorum now and you wanted to, you could certainly make the recommendation now and approve it now if you wanted to. You know,
I'm looking. I don't believe we do have a quorum. Do we?
is Mike on there with Jean?
I don't see them.
No. They're at
All
a
right,
funeral. I think they couldn't be on. All right. Well, it looks like Jean has her hand up, but I'm
I
not
thought I
sure.
heard Mike Mandalia ask the first question.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
He might have, actually, maybe she said that they weren't, that might be a different Jean, because I think she's usually JEANNE, so I guess.
Right.
So let's acknowledge the Jean with her hand up and see who it is.
That would be me, the principal assessor.
Okay,
Ah,
Jean
And you can hear
Berthold.
me.
Here she is.
Well, first of
We
all,
can
I'd like
hear
to
you.
personally thank Dan Byer for working with me last week to discover this discrepancy. And I'd just like to add that instead of requesting a fairly expensive consultant to review my estimated receipt numbers at budget time, the money might have been better spent reviewing your spreadsheet. Thank you.
Thanks, Jean. All right. Let's see. So are we all good with this conversation? I think FinCom's able to take this information and go to their meeting and make their recommendation.
hmm
Next on the agenda, we have interview and appoint Sharon Luttrell to the Taft Public Library Board of Trustees. Ellen, is this,
Yep, this is me.
okay, great.
I'm echoing here. All right, I don't know if Sharon's on, but Sharon was a former trustee and opted not to be reelected a couple years ago. And since Amy Fahey has moved out of town, we have a vacancy. We did post it on the library's website, on our website. I put it on Facebook more than 45 days ago and got no interest. So we asked Sharon if she would be willing to fill the vacancy up until, I think it's May 2022. And she has graciously agreed to do that.
Okay, is Sharon on the call? She is not. but
I don't
I
see
am
her.
familiar with Karen, and I know that, as you mentioned, Ellen, she has served on the trustees as a trustee in the past, and so I think that I'm pretty comfortable with moving forward with her appointment. So I'll accept the motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Do we, hold on, do we have the, sorry, it was to, hold on, let me just pull it up. To expire,
Should be May 17th, 2022.
got it, yeah, yep, well, that's with the term to expire May 17, 2022.
Is that a second from Mr.
Yeah,
Morales?
second. Yeah, second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Tenio, aye.
Morale, aye.
Real aye. Okay. And then we have the, all of these are Ellen. So Ellen, we have the ZBA.
Yep, you're gonna get sick of seeing me tonight. Yeah, so in May, I approached the ZBA, because I'm their admin, about raising the fees because, it was becoming more and more apparent that the $250 we charge is not covering, sometimes even the public hearing. And my salary that I do for admin plus the supplies, particularly postage. So they voted to raise the fees to $350, but I know that it's your authority that has to that actually has to raise the fees. So this is why I'm here representing them. There should be a spreadsheet. I don't know if Laura sent a spreadsheet that showed my breakdown of like a year's worth of, most recent year's worth of hearings. And I know that we had to do a transfer at the end of the year for ZBA for over $2,000. So it is something that's needed. And I would like it effective September 1st. There should also be a letter signed by Jim Carty.
That was all sent over in the packet.
Yeah. And I do believe that, you know, the fees that are associated with applications and all of this are meant to cover the cost for these types of activities. So to me, it makes sense that we align the fee with the cost of doing these things. So, any further comments? I'll accept the motion.
I move to authorize the ZBA to increase fees for variances and special permit applications to $350.
Second,
All in favor?
Morale, aye.
Tenio, aye.
Real. Okay, and then Ellen, we have the what is it? Not redistricting.
Re-precincting, it's actually adding a precinct. Much to my dismay, it looks like we're probably gonna have to add a second precinct next year is when they become effective, but the official numbers won't come out until September. However, I've been told that I should get all the approvals in place to accept the re-precincting map that the state made for me. Basically, we'll go to 2 precincts where everything north of 16 and Hartford Ave East, kind of following the main roads there, will be precinct 1, and precinct 2 will be everything south. And the precincts have to have within 5% of the average size of a precinct. So if we have 6,272 people like they say we do, the precincts have to be within 50% of that, 5% of 50%. So precinct 1 is going to end up being around just under 3 or just over 3,000 people. I don't have that number with me. I just have the map. But anyway, they did all the hard stuff for me, basically. So unless you have a real hard objection to where the line is drawn, we'll stay in the same polling place. I have no intentions of having a separate polling place. Not that I don't think we could do one anyway. I can't think of a space. So really, there will be cost associated. It will have to buy a new voting machine. and whatever supplies they'll need for the polling place to make sure that everything's divided down the middle. But the first step is to approve this map. If it looks fine to you, then that would be the first step. That's not saying that the federal census numbers come out and it falls below the 6,200, then we don't have to do this for another 10 years. That's my hope, but they seem to think that they're right.
So I guess, what is the, and I guess, sorry, even ask a question to draw this out, but why is the number 6,200 necessary to have a second precinct or split the town in half? What's the goal? If we're still voting in the same place, then we're just adding a ballot machine? I mean, what's the matter with the machine we have and the way we've been doing it? Why is 6,200 the number?
I don't necessarily disagree with you, but the state has these numbers set in place. So a precinct is not supposed to have more than 4,000 citizens in it. We're already well over that. But when Margaret did this 10 years ago, the total population was under 6,200, which is their threshold. So she was allowed to stay in one precinct. I think that, I don't know where they get those numbers from. I don't know where they think that, well, each precinct has to be 4,000. I've heard Upton's going to go to 3 precincts because they've gone over the 2 precinct threshold. But it's just something that's been in place. I really don't know the history of it, but it's been in place for a while.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, further comments? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion.
I move to accept the map establishing the re-precincting lines drawn by the Secretary of the State Census Department.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Tenio, aye.
Morale, aye.
Real aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have the 1-day beer and wine license for the Brothers of the Brush event. I think Mr. Byrne, AJ, are you here for that, or is Mr. Byer here?
It's me, it's AJ.
Okay. Take it away.
Okay, we're actually having our first annual Brothers of the Brush Family Day. And for you guys that may or may not know the Brothers of the Brush, we do a lot of community work. To name a few, the Santa Parade with fireworks, house decorating contest, caroling for some of the elderly folks in town. We provide ramps to people in need. We giving out turkey dinners at Thanksgiving, and then we give gift cards to holiday families. So we do a lot for the community, and one of our probably main goals is to somewhat stay under the radar. But again, we also feel there's a really strong need to, if you want to call it, celebrate all the hard work and say thank you to the members for all the hard work. So we're looking at a family day at the beach, the town beach. That felt like a really good location because we hope a lot of the families have kids. I'm sorry, but a lot of the brothers have young kids. And we're going to have food, obviously. We're going to have lifeguards there so the kids can swim. We'll have different events. And then we'd also like to be able to have beer and wine, kind of simply said. So make it a real nice day on August 29th. And again, it's really our way of saying thank you to the brothers for all the hard work that we do every year.
Sounds great. Any comments from board members? Okay, I'll accept the motion.
I move to approve a 1-day beer and wine beverage only special license for the Men and Brothers of the Brush event on 8/29/21 from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Men in Town Beach at 45 Taft Ave.
Second.
All in favor?
Tenio, aye.
Morale, aye.
Real aye.
I just want to say
so
too
much.
that I've been to a bunch of those events that you guys, that the brothers put on, and it's always, they're always great events, a lot of fun, and appreciate what you guys do for the community.
Thank you. And one that you might, maybe all of you, but Lonnie maybe in particular, but we're going to do a car show.
A what?
A car show
Oh,
on
great.
October 9th. So that information about that's forthcoming very soon. Right up by, I always say the old VNA, but in the old VNA parking lot by Blue Magic. So
Gotcha.
yeah, we're excited about that. So, but thank you. Thanks
You
a
should
lot.
do a Jeep show. Yeah, Jeeps come.
Yeah,
I love to
we're
ride
actually
in
moving.
Jeep. My
We have all
fiance
these.
is
My wife actually is moving away. You may know this, but we've had a lot of Jeeps. She's getting a new Bronco. So
Oh,
we're
really?
moving away from the Jeep. Big
Wow.
step,
Yeah,
big change.
well, they do look sharp. I've seen them. I
do,
mean, they look sharp.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, AJ.
Thanks, AJ.
Bye.
Okay, last item we have is oh no, sorry. I almost skipped this one. Discuss earth removal permit process. Mike would have caught me on that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the one in question that hadn't been turned in, I don't know if it's is it not in yet? Because I will follow up with that. Sorry.
Lonnie, this is Laura. I have not received it yet.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, his name is eluding me at the moment for whatever reason.
I think it's
Scott,
Scott Lanzetta.
yeah, Scott Lanzetta
Yes.
from Lanzetta Excavating. I will follow up with him. I did. I think you had emailed it over to that email I had sent you. So I'll just make sure he gets it in. But just to discuss, just a note on that, on the whole process in general is, I'm not sure exactly why loam is singled out, especially in a subdivision process, or a development process, I should say, because loom is going to be probably more than likely the first material you come to that's excess material. And if it's I feel like we should maybe look at the process, maybe ask around a little bit more of even why loam is. I believe at one point there might have been a concern that people were stripping loam and selling it, obviously selling it, and it being trucked out of town, I guess. I don't know that it's, yeah, go ahead.
My memory of it was that when the property across from the drive-in was excavated, all the loom was stripped off of that and moved out of town, and there was no bylaw or any control. That's my memory of it, and I think that's why the bylaw was passed. But I mean, my question, because honestly, I started this when I saw the sign go up, and I had seen that there were various times when it should have been applied and it wasn't. And my question was, you know, is there really a bylaw? Does there need to be a bylaw? How is it applied? Nobody seemed to know what the enforcement process was. And like you just said, is it something that really is necessary? I mean, if it's there, I think we need to deal with it. But if it doesn't need to be there, it needs to be modified. We probably should do that too, right?
Yeah, and at the same time, and I recall exactly that it was definitely brought up back then, Mike, the one about when it was Fino's land, because there was that pile of loam that was stockpiled there for so very long before the dealerships came. The other part of it is I just feel like it should be treated like any other material. Why, you know, again, if it's excess material, what is the difference? You know, if it's loom, gravel's more right now, like sewer gravel is way more needed than loam is, or any type of gravel is probably the most lucrative one, just because it's so hard to come by. However, again, my opinion is that just treat it all the same. If you have a subdivision that you have to do cuts and fills on, and you have to take out that much loam to put in gravel to make the ground more suitable, why can't you offset your cost? To me, it just doesn't make any sense that loam is just singled out. However, I would defer to anybody that has any opinion on it. And then if you're specifically just doing a project on your land to strip the materials from it, well, yeah, then a permit would be required. But if it's already part of an approved project from the planning board that's gone through site plan review, who are the selectmen to even say? I mean, are we even the right ones to be paying attention to this bylaw. I don't know what should be taken out. Is there there's nothing about engineers? They come in and get a permit and they say, we want to take this much. And, again, we're not even, I don't even believe we'd be the correct, are the correct board to be dealing with this.
Well, what is the current bylaw? What does it say, and how is it enforced?
So
that's my question.
Right. So the Board of Selectmen, I can pull it up real quick, but the Board of Selectmen enforces it. There's a permit fee of $50. If it's part of a project such as, you've gone for site plan review through planning board, whether it's a subdivision, whether it's a commercial building, you still have to come if you're going to take the loam off of it. Anything else is covered by the project being approved, and it's just excess material. So again,
so if we have a situation where somebody is advertising that they're selling loom and they don't have a permit, what's the right mechanism? I mean, at first I thought it would be the enforcement officer, but I'm told that's not the case.
No, it's not. It's us.
Okay,
it's us.
So is it Kim as the person running the day-to-day operations that would defer to that to handle that, or do we defer it to the constables or to the police, or what do we? I mean, it's kind of, you hear what I'm saying? I mean, it's just like any other bylaw in town. Are any of them enforceable? I mean, the point is, obviously they're all. Well, I guess I would ask.
We've done it before. We've called, and I think Lonnie, you might have been just reelected at the time. I think it was on Route 16. There was some activity going on, and there was some earth removal happening. We called the gentleman in to a meeting and had it at a public meeting, a conversation about it, and issued a fine. I mean, that's kind of like the mechanism of us enforcing it. But I think the bylaw allows for us to appoint someone to enforce the provisions of the bylaw. So I mean, in the meantime, while we're figuring this out, maybe we appoint the building commissioner to be enforcing it for now. I don't know.
Cindy, can I ask you, since you're at the meeting, what your counsel on this is?
You can, and you're not going to like my answer. This is the first I've heard anything about this bylaw. I would want to take a look at what it says and where it is, and I can't answer any of the factual questions as to why it was adopted, why it's singling things out, but I'm happy to look at it and give you my thoughts on it. Is it a general bylaw?
$18.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why it's not the zoning enforcement officer.
Right.
Because you're not supposed to.
I can honestly say I have not had any dealings with this bylaw, but I'm happy to take a look at it and give you what I think you can and can't do with it, or what you may or may not want to do with it.
Okay, so why don't we'll deal with the pending or the issue at hand, which we're waiting on that application. We'll deal with that. We'll have Cindy review the language of the bylaw, and then we can address these questions at the next meeting.
Is this the earth removal bylaw? Is that
yes.
Okay.
Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Okay, perfect. Last item on the agenda is we're altering a Bay State Trail Riders poker run date. So I'll take a motion.
I move to amend the date for the Bay State Trail Riders Association annual poker run to August 29th, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. out of Inman Hill Wildlife Conservation Area.
Second.
All in favor?
Tenio, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Really? Okay, I believe that is everything on the agenda. I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Tenio, aye.
Morale, aye.
Real aye. Thank you, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Good night.